All right, everyone, good evening. Thanks for joining us for this Monday edition of Wave Extra, 8:06 this evening, August 4th. I'm Jose Sosaya, starting off the top, joined by Wave News' Logan Perone. Logan, happy to have you here with us. Hard at work today, and we're learning, updates come as, we come back from the weekend. Here we are at work, and unfortunately, awful circumstances. If you remember the images we showed you during this fire, this home explosion in Jeffersonville after the fact, and just realizing there was literally nothing left of the home that the 5 people we know were using. And these were 5 people, Logan, who were so badly hurt. To our knowledge, they're alive and they're recovering. But you've been busy today figuring out just how extensive their injuries are, and it seems they have a community behind them just trying to do the best that they can. So walk us through what you've been able to find out so far today.
So yeah, I was actually off the day that this explosion happened. I was, just sitting on my couch, not feeling well, and then I get the notification that there's a house explosion in Jeffersonville. And so as we came back this weekend, I was wondering, what any updates were. And we had been directed to a GoFundMe. And that kind of gave us an avenue to say, okay, well, how are these people doing? What are their conditions? It's the Atkinson family. 5 of them are in the hospital with severe burns in serious, but I'm told stable condition by a friend of the family. We're looking to see if we can.
So what would you like to show folks right now?
Let's start with those injuries. And folks, we just want to bear with you. Some of these images might be graphic, but these are the images that we have from the family. They're shared on the GoFundMe. So if you are going to go donate, we'll pull those up now. These are some of the injuries. We're told, from head to toe that they have burns, again, all over their bodies. There's a few more images I was sent by the friend of the family that she asked us not to share. They just show a little more extensive the injuries that are there. And again,
but it just shows you the potential of how deadly this could have been, right?
Yes, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
You can call it a miracle that these folks are alive. And I mean, it's some of the images that I've seen, again, that we were asked not to share, just break your heart that this has happened. And we've also learned through that GoFundMe and just through the family friend that there were 2 others, a dad and a 7-year-old, who were not in the home. So they're coping as best as they can. The family lost everything in that explosion. Let's pull up, if we can.
Because I want to remind folks of just how, just of a shock, the size, the scope of the explosion really quick here.
Yeah, so this is the video that we were able to obtain on Thursday when this happened. You can see it in the distance there. This was on a Ring doorbell camera. And then this is the aftermath. This was from a neighbor who took this video as the fire crews got on scene, trying to, again, get in and help the family that was inside when this occurred. Again, a dad and a 7-year-old were not home when this happened. But, I was able to talk with this woman named Alicia. She's the sponsor of the GoFundMe. And, they're obviously displaced the last few days. They've been able to gather some school supplies, things like that, but they lost everything. I'm reading from the message that I got here earlier. I believe the only thing the son, the 7-year-old who was fortunately not in the home, the only thing the son was left with was a pair of shoes and 1 sock. So not only did the family have to go through this traumatic event where, again, lives could have been lost, these folks are going to be impacted for the rest of their lives, but they also lost everything. So this GoFundMe that I want to pull up now, we have it linked on our website, wave3.com, but we're going to show you the GoFundMe page right here.
Okay.
Right now at about $1,200 of their $7,000 goal. And as it says in the GoFundMe, they're going to look to increase that as they get closer to the goal, just so that they can help the family as much as they can.
And you can see, again, just a different, way to kind of understand just how much they're going to need to go through to recover here, Logan, just based on the extent of their injuries. And again, this is the woman you had spoken to a little bit earlier, Alicia, right?
Yes, Alicia. And she said, hopefully we're going to be able to meet with her tonight. She's been working. It's one of those weird things, folks, about my shift and Jose's shift. We kind of have to work on other people's lives, and that's totally okay. But Alicia's hoping to speak with us tonight so that we can learn more about how the family's doing and just how, again, you at home can support this family. But again, the whole thing was engulfed in flames. We heard a big bang. These are some of the things that we reported last week, and it was just a devastating scene. So you have a family in need that just wants that community to rally around them. So again, this GoFundMe linked on wave3.com.
And it's, as we're staring at these images here, Logan, and in part of our reporting, perhaps for those who this might have jogged a very unsettling memory for those who live in this part of Jeffersonville, or those who might remember the story from back in 2019 when we had discussed in the hours, days after an explosion that was actually deadly back then. And this just is a very troubling deja vu feeling of sorts, because, thankfully, it seems the pressing need is going to be to, support the 5 folks who made it, make sure they can get back to their lives as normal as they can. But I'm sure they and their loved ones are going to be asking what happened. Like, how did everything factor in to then lead into the explosion? And they're probably going to be shared, or someone's going to share with them the knowledge that something eerily similar happened very close to that part of town.
Yeah, and again, that was a 2019 home explosion. Yeah. It was a young couple's home. That is also a factor in this. Again, there was the smell of gas that was described before this explosion happened. I mean, it's just one of those things where, yes, there's that eerily similar circumstance several years ago, and then once again, same neighborhood rocked by the same type of problem, same event. And again, fortunately, at this point, no fatalities. And again, we're just praying for a full recovery for the 5 members. Again, they will dramatically and forever be impacted by this event, this home explosion. But again, at the end of the day, you can say nothing but, thanks to the Lord that they are at least okay and alive.
And to think from that distance too, where, to tell you, Logan, I don't know if I'd been able to see that particular shot from that ring or that security camera from that door from far away. We understand there's a bit of a distance, but you saw the light that just flashed there from way out top. And this is the neighbor who sent us the video, just very eye-searing images, as you saw, just the firefighters trying to put that massive fire out in the middle of the moment. Our drone camera here now, for example, once daylight comes, and just to your point of how if you learn the boy who was not inside just has no clothes to put on his back, it would show you the extent of just how the damage basically consumed everything. I want to see if we can pull up another source for here, because this is, by the way, our website here on wave3.com.
Yeah, so that's the headline. So for those of you at home who would like to support the family, you can go to this story. GoFundMe started for Jefferson Houseville.
There's a link
explosion
I see there
victims.
as well.
You click or tap the link. That'll bring you to that. Again, it's not only just, again, this family that has to go through this. The medical bills are going to catch up. They have to rebuild everything.
Yeah.
So for those of you that would care to donate, able to help these members of our community, this is the web story on our website. And again, we're still working on even just getting to talk with that one family member, or the friend of the family member.
And that is your understanding. It is someone who knows the family, and I'm sure it's someone who feels this maybe not as acutely as those family members, but just someone who seems concerned to want to get these folks back on their feet.
Has that connection, knows that these people are going to need a lot of help and be on a road to recovery. That, again, this is one of those things where, you really want to see not just us as journalists, but as people in the community. Because again, you got to remember, folks, we live in your community. We are part of your community. We want to see you guys and all of us help one another when something like this happens. So this is just one way, that we're able to do this is through GoFundMes, through fundraisers, things like that. And it's, anytime that we can help get the word out there.
It's sharing the story. It's very simply just connecting you to the people. If you had no idea, they would be as close physically to you, but and obviously so many more things we might share in common that one can take for granted here. So, Logan, as I understand it, so we're trying to get a hold of this family friend, but it seems very, very keen on making sure these folks get the financial support they need. There was a goal involved. I don't know, I guess as we look forward to tonight, are there questions you have for someone in their position who obviously must have questions of her own at the same time?
I mean, I can think of a billion different questions I would be asking, but again, what does the family need? Obviously, financial support is going to be a big thing. But what does the family need? What else can community members do? And how are those members that weren't in there doing? Because obviously, we see the images from the 5 adults that were in the home.
And these are the pictures that we're able to share with you.
Yeah, and again, folks, I just want to emphasize at home, I was sent 2 other photos. I was asked not to share, so we will not be sharing those. It breaks it breaks your heart to see the condition these adults are in. And again, I personally, man of God, I ask for prayers. I ask that you guys pray for this family. But again, anybody that can give any sort of financial assistance to the family, the GoFundMe, we have it linked on our website. But again, yeah, some of those questions, Jose, that I will be asking is, how are the father, how's the 7-year-old doing? Because, I have little sisters at home,
Yeah.
10 and 8, and I can't imagine my family having to go through something like this. And, say if it was one in, one out, and, I have family members that age.
Sure.
I know how tough a situation can be, and you never wish this on anyone. So, we really do want to check in on them as well, and, see what they need as well in this situation.
Yeah, and obviously the story is not going to end with this. There will be many chapters will be sure to follow. Again, I always refer back to the short term. I say easy goal, but just the obvious goal, let's put it that way, is just to help these folks get back to as close to whole as they could possibly be.
Something close to normal.
Something close to whole, because it can't fully be quite like it was before or after something like this. But even then, just in answering questions, whatever an investigation, an audit into what was going on in the house might reveal, but just to understand, gosh, you don't want something like this to happen again. Now that we have, we've seen, something that mirrors what was an even worse end result explosion out there in Jeffersonville. That you hope if you can avoid the same factors coming into play, do the best you can to do that. So, again. We know Logan's going to be hard at work trying to get those updates for us. He's a very busy man.
Working on that now, folks.
Are we making it work?
Yes, we're hopefully making it work.
Okay, so as we're going about that on Wave Extra, just remember we're staying up through the night, so we always appreciate you connecting with us. I always remind you this is the time Logan kind of distills everything to get you the report for Wave News at 11. So make sure to stay with us tonight. It's going to be myself, Logan, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned. That's the prime time. We've got all those updates and reports for you. Again, I'll remind you as I'll pull out to our web story here that Logan and our digital team had helped push out, or at least let you know what was going on with the GoFundMe. We're going to stay on it. Stay working hard. We do have more stories I want to share with you as you're joining us on Wave Extra. So what I'm going to do is line up some of these videos to share with you in a little bit. But first, we're going to take a commercial break and be right back. All right, everyone, welcome back into this edition of Wave Extra on Monday, August 4th. Here we are at 8:21. Always appreciate you connecting with us through the Wave Now app on your smart TVs, on all the different social media channels, Facebook, X, Twitch, YouTube. We're seeing some of you extending your prayers to the family that was obviously badly burned and scarred by that home explosion in Jeffersonville last week. So as we mentioned, if you joined us to start tonight's stream, our Logan Perone will be working hard, connect with a friend of the family who's keeping close tabs on how they're doing in the hospital, and now just trying to pull resources together to get them through at least some of those financial hurdles that they're going to have to overcome as they continue to slowly, but hopefully surely recover. So now getting to another big update to a story, as I like to phrase it, and as if you've joined us, this is kind of how I express these things, was just a story that doesn't quite end because there's more chapters and updates that we're able to find out through videos, through court records, through phone recordings even, and that is the point I was going to make. Now we've learned through a series of files sent to us, which I believe were sent from the Warren County Detention Center. So to that point, a series of recorded jail phone calls from Brooks Houck talking about what was going through his mind in those hours after a jury down in Bowling Green had found him guilty in the disappearance and presumed murder of Crystal Rogers. So again, these are the phone calls that we're going to focus in on because in the total file we received this evening, what you see is calls initiated from inside the detention center, but not all of those are ultimately successful. Some were people who hung up or just people who never picked up the receiving end of that phone call. But the ones we're looking at, thanks to our Wave News reporter David Mattingly here, are those that had happened in the hours on July 8th, when a jury ultimately recommended that Houck spend the rest of his life in prison. And so this is David's report on what he was able to comb through in these recordings. So take a listen.
In the hours immediately after his conviction, Brooks Houck made 16 phone calls, the first to the 12-year-old son he shared with Crystal Rogers, making a promise that he was never going to stop fighting and trying to get out of prison. The next call went to his current girlfriend, Crystal Malpin, and Houck sounded like he was in tears, expressing regret that their relationship might be over.
We've been all these years together, and, we're a little past midlife, and you're young, honey, you've got a lot of life left to live.
Babe, we're not done yet.
I love you so much, honey. I don't deserve you.
Houck's last call of the day went to his brother Nick. This time, Houck again sounded defeated, blaming the verdict against him on political pressure.
The journey that my life has taken has completely turned around today. You understand that? After a jury speaks like they did, that's a permanent decision. I know there's an appeals process, but with the political pressure behind this right here, I don't see the appellate court judges changing anything. You understand what I'm saying?
And so that is the update from our David Mattingly a little bit later. So again, coming up tonight on Wave News at 11, I was able to help, along with David, sort of make more sense of those final 16 calls we got in that initial file transmission of those particular jail phone calls, and just more details that we're able to share as far as parts of those conversations that were published through these recorded phone calls. So I'll break some of that further down for you tonight on Wave News at 11. But I wanted to show you another update we have relating to the Crystal Rogers case here, because Brooks Houck was just one of 3 men who juries in 2 separate trials found guilty for their roles in what happened to her. And so this time we're talking about Commonwealth prosecutors after Steve Lawson, the first of the 3 men convicted, found guilty. He filed a motion to request a new trial. And this time Commonwealth prosecutors, this was their response, saying that, quote, has no merit. And so essentially what we received is that submission, that filing from Commonwealth prosecutors, and this is their response, in essence, to the claims that Steve Lawson and his attorneys were trying to make. So you can see here what he was found guilty for: conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. The defense team for Lawson filed the new motion. They cited 8 reasons. The Commonwealth, in turn, responded to each of those reasons, making those points. And you see the quote here: "None of the allegations of error have merit." You could follow along here, and as an added tool that you could find in this particular story and many others pertaining to the case. But here you see this tool on our article on wave3.com. You can use this little bar through Scribd. This is an upload of that filing from Commonwealth attorneys and go point by point their rebuttal to everything that Steve Lawson's defense was arguing in their respective motions. So again, just an option for you all to see that is something, a resource, part of our ongoing updates, reporting, sharing this information with you on the website, wave3.com. Take you back to the homepage there and all the updates we do have at the same time as well. All right, I want to show everyone, take a quick look outside. Here we are with a little bit of breeze blowing and some sunlight still there with a different kind of shading in the lightings of the clouds and a nice temperature, of course. It's our New Albany SkyTrack camera, enjoying the 79 degrees based on where we are at right now. And of course, we have been letting you know to start the weekend, wrapping up this said weekend, just how glorious it was going to feel with these October-like temperatures, perhaps to start the morning. But now we're talking a little bit of a breeze, and we know that the heat is going to come up or back up sooner rather than later, because that is how summer tends to work as well. And so we're going to let you all know what to expect as we move along to start or keep going through the rest of the week. So Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned going to let you know how that will all progress throughout the week. Back here in the studio, 8:28 on Wave Extra. I'm going to show some more video to pull up for you here because in another update, a lot of court updates relating to big stories that, again, just have more and more updates to share with you. And this one pertains to something from across the river with the Jamie Knoll scandal with New Chapel EMS. His estranged wife, Misty Knoll, and sort of the wrinkle in what a judge had requested her come back and answer his questions as to why in court she had pleaded, guilty, or at least said she was responsible for certain acts of wrongdoing, but then in the course of some media interviews she had done, the judge had then sort of argued, bring her back to court and to clarify what she meant by that. And so after all that reporting that we had followed up on, post interviews from Misty Knoll, and then the judge's order for her to then answer those questions coming back into the courtroom, we've now learned Misty Knoll has actually withdrawn all of her court motions in, again, this is the tax evasion and theft case. Say that 5 times fast. Just want to bring that up. If you remember, our cameras were able to go inside of the courtroom in that initial hearing where she had essentially told the judge, acknowledging the wrongdoing as it pertains to her role in that case. But Misty Knoll, again, dropping pending motions as she waits to explain herself before a judge again back in July. So she pleaded guilty in court, admitting to having spent money on the New Chapel EMS credit card. Those 2 TV interviews she did shortly after, though, were the opposite sentiment, though. And that's what Judge Larry Medlock was pointing to in his show cause hearing, telling Misty Knoll to explain if she had lied to either him or to the public. And Knoll's legal team filed motions for a new judge and to revoke her initial guilty plea. But now, again, the big update this evening is that those have been dropped. That hearing between Medlock and Knoll still set for August 12th. Medlock could still revoke her guilty plea and then in turn set a jury trial. So that will be an update we will be following for sure as we go further through the month of August. All right, moving to more headlines and updates. This is a story of a man accused of shooting his girlfriend's ex-husband off New Cut Road, appearing in court today. This is the video you're seeing from inside that arraignment. 28-year-old Carlos Garcia Romero facing several charges, including assault and fleeing police. So we did get an arrest citation. Police say they found a victim shot in the leg. That man told police Garcia Romero shot him after they ran into each other at a restaurant. Police further saying in the citation, Garcia Romero is currently dating the victim's ex-wife. Police caught up to Garcia Romero saying that he told police that the gun accidentally went off as he was pointing it at the other victim to try and scare him. But Garcia Romero admitted to throwing the gun in a dumpster at a nearby gas station. And so that is the latest from what we were able to get in court. He will be back in court on August 12th. And now to another update. This was something we had gotten wind of a little earlier in the day. We ultimately found out one person died after a shooting involving police in Shelby County. This is the scene of the crime. It happened at around 1 this morning at a home on Blackwell Road. Kentucky State Police saying the Shelby County Sheriff's Office got word this was a potential domestic violence incident. When deputies got there, they say they found a man and a woman outside. And police say in an altercation or in a confrontation, 41-year-old Ryan McBride pulled out a gun, started shooting at a deputy. That deputy fired back, ultimately hitting McBride. He died at the scene. The deputy was taken to the hospital, released. No one else was hurt. At least that's what was the report from KSP. But they are investigating this shooting right now because it involves an officer in that matter. All right, we have much more to break down for you tonight on Wave Extra. We're going to take a quick commercial break to reset and be right back. Hey, 34 folks, welcome back to tonight's edition of Wave Extra. Here's the part we're going to be talking about for those families and kids who are not quite back to the start of the school year yet, most likely for JCPS families, but we know that the calendars, those days are getting shorter and shorter. The countdown is to get to that big first day. So while JCPS students are enjoying a few more days of summer break, teachers, we found out, came back into the classroom today, working hard to make sure that their students have a great first day back where they're supposed to be. So let's bring you inside one of those classrooms. This afternoon, for example, students who go to Wheeler Elementary School, some got to do a little meet and greet with their teachers before the first day. Over the past week or so, many educators have been working on preparing, just decorating what they want in the classroom, making sure it is perfect to let the kids know they are welcome and excited to be there.
We've gotten things hung up on the wall, we've gotten our desks and all of our other materials put where they need to be. This morning we're just kind of finishing that up. We're getting out all of the school supplies that the kids will use this year. We're putting the final touches on our room just so it's ready to welcome families.
A lot of work going into that. And JCPS students, again, a reminder, you're heading back to school August 7th. That is, if I'm looking at the calendar, of course, it is this Thursday. Hard to believe that summer goes by oh so quick. All right. Coming back here in the studio, one Kentucky nonprofit that we had reached out to are just involved in perhaps an issue for preparing kids back to school. This is a group trying to improve student outcome in 40 different kinds of schools across Kentucky. But they say this is a program trying to do this work that's in jeopardy because of the conversation of potential federal funding cuts. And to that end, our Wave News reporter, Fernando Garcia-Franceschini. So Fernando went to check out what was going on at McFerrin Elementary School. That he learned students and families there could feel the impact of losing some of those funds.
Money for the Kentucky Community Schools Initiative was awarded back in 2022. It's a 5-year program looking to improve student outcomes by fostering collaboration between schools and communities.
We're midway through the project, seeing really important progress, even 2.5 years in.
Bridget Blum, the president and CEO of the Pritchard Committee for Academic Excellence, says there's traceable growth in math and reading and a drop in bullying and absenteeism. But that progress could hit a wall if talks about rescission packages at the federal level move forward.
Should Congress entertain the rescission that may be asked by the Office of Management and Budget and by the President, it would be the first time that Congress is backpedaling on such an important way forward in education.
Jefferson County has already received part of the $1.5 million that come with the program. That money impacts students and families at the Academy at Shawnee and McFerrin Elementary.
We have seen an increase in family and community engagement at both schools, Shawnee and McFerrin. And additionally, we've seen a decrease in chronic absenteeism in both schools.
Jamira Johnson with JCPS says the money also goes towards after-school enrichment programs in what they call underserved neighborhoods.
That funding pays for the certified teachers to provide tutoring for the students. And so it's going to impact the tutoring services.
And with all of this at risk, education leaders are asking Kentucky's congressional delegation to step in.
And we're also learning for one part of the population of JCPS's students. These are kids who unfortunately at the moment don't have a permanent home. They're about to go back to the classroom though too. But here is some of that community support through an ice cream social and back to school party at Wayside Christian Mission. Hurstbourne Christian Church actually provided the suites involved, helping parents get very needed school supplies, backpacks, underwear, socks for the kids. Wayside says for all children to be successful, leaders feel they need the proper supplies, and that, of course, then boosts their confidence and self-esteem.
We want to make sure that our kids are ready to go to school, that they're excited about going to school, because we know that education is one of the keys out of homelessness.
Wayside also says JCPS is a partner in supplying bus transportation, resources, and tutoring support for homeless children who are also in the shelter getting that immediate support that they need. Time for another quick check outside. Thanks to our SkyTrack network, the breeze still blowing in New Albany, but more of those clouds layering up top. Temperature still looking pretty nice at the high 70s at 79. Here we are at 8:39 in our studio clock right now. All right, after the break, time for a couple more stories I want to share with you. Just something that we argue would be very much discussed if you're sharing videos and just want to talk about some stuff that, including our What's Good series and a call back to some stories from last week, but just things we wanted to share with you that we have a feeling you all would discuss for sure on social. So we're going to be right back with a very quick break on Wave Extra. All right, everyone, here we are, 8:42 on Monday's Wave Extra, and this is a shout out perhaps to fans, lovers of Ale 8. It's a story we've had a lot of fun discussing here in the Wave Now offices, and just want to show you a little video if you've ever been to an Ale 8 factory tour, and this is some video we were able to grab a couple while back. But just head up, we found out there's a new flavor that's soon going to be available to try. It's a partnership between Ale 8 and the Kentucky State University's world-renowned pawpaw research program, and so this is about a pawpaw flavor up. It's native to Kentucky, the largest edible fruits found in North America, commonly associated with what a banana, mango, and pineapple might taste like. We've learned the new flavor is sold in a 4-pack for a limited time, and a portion of the pack sold would benefit KSU's research program. So you see where the partnership is playing out there. So perhaps soda's not your bag. What about cheesecake? We've learned Big Nita's cheesecakes. Again, we were there to show you kind of the viral success they've been enjoying, large crowds lining up at their storefront. Apparently, there's a new way for folks to try and get in the queue as early as they can. The business launched their website this morning, we found out. But pre-orders for this week sold out in just 12 seconds. That is the power of cheesecake, it seems. And TikTok, those reviews doing a large part to help Big Nita's cheesecakes go viral. You were seeing a little bit of that video earlier, that long line on East Main Street. And so apparently we've learned for folks who would like to then pre-order, the website would allow that this coming, so not today, next Monday at BigNitasCheesecakes.com. And the pre-orders apparently start at 9 a.m. So just then know that is the expectation if you were hoping to grab a bite from this new, small, but enjoying quite a lot of social media success business. And one more thing tonight, courtesy of our Wave News anchor and legend Dawn G. She wanted to share and follow up on a story of faith, love, as she puts it, miracles that apparently Wave News has been following for more than 20 years now. A testament to parents who would do anything for their child, and now looking at how a little girl learned to fight for herself, a sister who was the support she needed to make it so. And so this is Dawn G taking us back to Kinsey's story tonight.
I've known for all of my life, for as long as I can remember, that this was a possibility and that this was something that was planned, before I was born.
22-year-old Tegan is one of 3 Morrison sisters. To say that her parents planned for her addition to the family is a bit of an understatement.
It's kind of been lurking in the background. I know that this is a possibility that I can give my best friend a cure. I said I don't want to cry. It just is like a no-brainer to me.
A cure for her best friend, her sister, Kinsey.
Well, when Kinsey was 5 years old, she was diagnosed initially with leukemia and then very severe aplastic anemia.
A rare and serious condition where the bone marrow doesn't produce enough blood cells and platelets. According to the NIH, about 2 out of every 1 million people in the U.S. are diagnosed with aplastic anemia each year.
We were told that she needed a bone marrow transplant. We couldn't find a donor for her anywhere in the world.
With doctors not giving Kinsey much time to live.
I thought we've got to find a match. And so we created one with Tegan.
Even that little blessing came with a battle. Little Tegan was born just like her older sisters with the help of IVF. But after Kinsey and sister Jillian, Karen Morrison was not planning on having any more children at the time.
I had had a hysterectomy. I knew I couldn't have more children.
It has been said out of difficulties grow miracles, and this story has many of both. Karen's sister stepped up to carry the fertilized egg Karen had saved at the fertility clinic.
My sister served as my surrogate.
The chance of a sibling being a perfect match for a bone marrow transplant is 25%. Kinsey's little sister Jillian didn't match. Karen's sister went through the challenges of IVF and the pregnancy as the entire family went through the uncertainty and then the test.
We got the results back. Do you want to know if the baby's a match? I said, yeah. And he said, perfect match.
Well, I feel like she is going to save my life, and she's just a wonderful little miracle.
Another miracle. but not the last. Kinsey remembers well.
When I was 6, my counts went back up just a little bit. And so my doctor said, let's wait to get the transplant. My counts went up a little bit more. And for 20 plus years, they've stayed stable enough that I didn't actually have to have the transplant.
Stable enough was a welcome diagnosis for the Morrison family. Kinsey had the chance to grow, to live, to get married.
I had been to far more funerals than weddings because of the impact that this illness has had in my life and the kids that I've met through it who did not make it.
Kinsey herself, a new bride, began thinking of planning her own family. Of course, it started with her medical care.
That's when we found out that I would need a transplant this fall from my sister, who's a perfect match.
A perfect match made 22 years ago.
I'm grateful to my sister for having Tegan, and I'm grateful to Tegan for saving Kinsey.
Tegan is preparing to donate bone marrow. Kinsey is preparing for the transplant and her next journey she and her husband must face through IVF. Radiation and chemo in the transplant process can cause infertility, but Kinsey's eggs have been frozen in hopes she will one day be a mother.
I think if anybody would survive something like this and come out stronger than ever on the other side, it would definitely be Kinsey.
So you saw that conversation, of course, the entire family there with our Dawn G. And Dawn learned Kinsey's battle, not only physical, but of course, financial, going through chemo, radiation to kill cells to prepare to take her sister's cells for the bone marrow as part of that process. But Dawn made sure there's a way to follow that particular journey. And so in her article and her report on wave3.com, that is something you can follow and learn much more about again on our website. One of those many resources for all the stories we share with you and those updates happening in your backyard and your community there through the website, through our free-to-download apps, Wave Now, Wave Weather Now, of course, all those different methods you can connect with us. So, again, we always appreciate you spending time with us. As we round out the evenings, I will be back with the team coming up on Wave News at 11 on your preferred methods to connect with us through there. So we always appreciate that. We're going to wrap things up tonight. Always feel free to reach out for any stories, things that matter to you, and we'll make sure to check in with you to see what's going on in our neck of the woods. So we appreciate you all. Have a good night. We will see you tomorrow.